Welcome back. I am Mr. JDM, and today we're going to finish up working on the CZ swap. We're getting everything ready on the CZ engine so we could drop it into the wagon. Yesterday I had a few questions about some things and I posted them up in a group, and this is for a mechanical fuel pump. There would be like a rod that goes from in here that hits this lobe, and when this lobe goes up and down, it causes the fuel pump, or the mechanical fuel pump, to pump fuel. But since this has been converted over, this is blocked off, so that's why that's like that. Now when it comes to the intake gasket and using gasket maker, most people say just to use gasket maker around the coolant holes. So basically that's what this is. It's basically a gasket maker, but you can add a little bit more to it just to make you feel safer. Now the final question I had was, can you use a dual point throttle positioning sensor with a multi-point fuel injection? Now you can see why I asked this question, because this one's broke. So the answer to that question is no, because this one rotates backwards and it just won't work. Yes, I could mount it backwards, but then the throttle will only open up halfway, so that's a no-go. I'm gonna have to hit the junkyard and find a new throttle positioning sensor. We'll do that in another video. So a question I had was, what's the difference between the D16 B2 and the ZC? The B2 is a 1.5 liter. The CZ is a 1.6 liter. The B2 is about 92 horsepower and 88 foot-pounds of torque. The CZ is about 125, maybe 130 horsepower with like 106 or 108 foot-pounds of torque. And that depends on what CZ you have. There are different versions. They all have the same stamp though. Some are older, some are newer, and they also have a single cam ZC with VTEC. But typically the single cam ZZ non-VTEC is pretty much the same as the D16 Z6. The only real difference is the cam gear is a little bit more aggressive, which produces a little bit more horsepower, but really not much. And then I was also asked if the wiring harness from the B2 will work on the ZC. Well, that question is not as easy to explain, just because the CZ is a multi-point fuel injection and the D16 B2 is a dual point. The wiring harness is a little different. You'll have to do the conversion, but if you really wanted to, you could pull the intake off of your B2 and install it on your ZC and use the same wiring harness. Everything plugs in the same, it would all be the same. But if you're going to go that route, I would recommend going ahead and upgrading to multi-point fuel injection, just because it's better. You'll get more power. I don't know if you'll gain any more in fuel economy. I think you will, but it's probably so small you wouldn't even notice. This wiring harness is a dual point fuel injection wiring harness, and there are going to be a few differences. This only has 2 plugs for fuel injectors, whereas the multi-point will have 4, and so I'm gonna have to wire in a whole new harness for the fuel injectors. But we're going to talk about this in a completely different video, and I'll be very detailed on how to convert your wiring harness from dual point fuel injection to multi-point. So today we're gonna finish up getting this intake manifold off and transfer everything from the manifold over to this manifold, and that's pretty much it, because I only got like a couple hours because I got other stuff I need to do. It rained most of the morning today, but as you can see, it's a pretty nice day. It turned out to be a pretty nice day. So let's get started, and yeah. All right, there's these little gaskets inside here where the fuel injector goes. We want to pull those out and transfer them over. And they are kind of tapered. Maybe that's because they were in the old one, so I'm gonna stick them back the way they came out. I don't know if brand new ones would be tapered. Before we install the fuel rail into the Skunk 2 intake manifold, we need to pull these little spacers. And you don't want to tighten them down all at once. You just want to slowly tighten them down until the fuel rail squeezes the injectors back into the little O-rings. Now we need to transfer the idle air control valve and the throttle body. So the idle air control valve has a couple cooling hoses on it. This one connects to that little port right there, the water hose that runs across the back of the engine. And then the second one connects to, I think this is like the fast idle or something like that. It connects to here. Alright, there's also a screen right there that you want to clean out. Some good carb cleaner will get that cleaned out pretty good. You can try to pull that screen out, but every time I've done that, I've ended up destroying it, so I wouldn't even go that route. Alright, we got it cleaned out, and there is a gasket. It was actually stuck to the back of the intake. It goes in there. This one's not in bad shape, so I'm going to go ahead and keep it. Because this intake is longer, I'm not sure if this hose will actually reach to that water line that runs on the back of the engine. And another concern I have is, because this is so much longer, I think there might be some clearance issues with the firewall. I don't know, maybe not. Alright, so we're going to get this throttle body off, and there are 4 bolts. There's 2 nuts and 2 bolts. Now this one only has 1 of these, so I'm going to have to pull out the stud that's in this and transfer it over. And we also have a coolant line right here that goes into the bottom of the intake. That was almost a disaster. Alright, let's get this cleaned up, take this off, clean up the inside of the throttle body, clean up these little lines right here and over here. Gasket looks a little crusty, but I don't have a new one, so I'm probably just going to reuse it. Alright, we got that cleaned up pretty good. So we got 1 stud here, and over here we have 2. So we're going to have to pull one of these off so we can transplant it to there. So I've got this tool that is supposed to help extract these. I've never used it before, so let's try it out. I would say it works pretty good. This gasket doesn't fit real well. Well, the old gasket came off without ripping, so we're just going to reuse that. Alright, we ran into a bit of a problem. The threads down here are stripped. So what do I do? I'm gonna work on that and we'll be back. Alright, so I got it in there kinda. As you can see, it's in there a little further than I wanted it to be. What I did was, well, actually I recorded all this, but my camera decided to crap out and have an error, and so that whole file was deleted. But what I did was I stuck some JB Weld down into the hole, then I stuck the stud in there. I'm gonna wait till it dries before I tighten this down. Maybe that'll work, maybe not. Hopefully it works. I've done it before with a supercharger and it worked pretty good, so hopefully it'll work. I could have put a Healy coil in there, but I don't know, I really didn't feel like messing with it. If this JB Weld doesn't work, I'm definitely gonna do a Healy coil, but I'm not gonna tighten this down for a couple days until the JB Weld actually fully dries and hardens. I'm pretty sure that'll work though. But yeah, the camera I use is my old phone. It's a Galaxy S8, and I would like to upgrade, but I just don't know what kind of camera. If y'all have any recommendations, you know, please let me know. Something that's cheap. But anyway, we got this far. Let's get the old intake manifold off and swap this one on. We already took the old one off, but I just took it back on there to unbolt everything. It's a lot easier to unscrew stuff when it's like stuck solid onto something. Alright, so we're going to put our gasket maker around this little gasket, and then around here. We're going to do it on the front and the back. Now that that's on, let's start hooking up all the water lines, the PVC, and I don't know what else, just anything else I can find. Alright, so we got to get this post mount off. We got to get that crank pulley off before we can continue any further. I am kind of thinking though, I don't have enough vacuum lines on the other manifold, because we got 1, 2, then we got this one that goes to the charcoal canister, and it's not very big, so I doubt if it will fit on one of these. But this one goes to over here, which I'm going to need a longer thing, and then we have the one on the back, which will be this one. It's this piece right here. I'm just not sure where to plug this one in at. On some throttle bodies, they have a port up here, and that's where that would plug into. But this throttle body does not. If you see here on the Beagle, I have this port on the throttle body, and that goes to the charcoal canister. So I'm not too sure what to do about that. I don't know. Maybe heat up the hose and force it to fit on one of those bigger fittings. That's an option, I guess. But yeah, let's work on this crank pulley again. That way we can get the covers off and get that post mount. PB blaster just made all the difference. Alright, we got that on there. It looks like the timing cover will fit. We need to clean it up really good though, because the bottom part of it's just nasty. It's really dirty. You know, I'm gonna go ahead and finish the video right here. I know we didn't get as much done as I hoped, but you know, we ran into a few snags. I spent a lot of time on that stud, and unfortunately none of it recorded. That sucks. But yeah, thanks for watching. I really appreciate it, and if you have any suggestions on a new camera that's cheap, let me know. And to the person that posted the questions in the last video, I hope I answered them. But yeah, thanks for watching. I'll see you all in the next video.